Good morning. Today is Zayin Menachemov, and we're going to begin a new chapter in Igeres HaKodesh. It's rather long. We'll see how much we can get through. Pistol 3, Gimel. Today's a beautiful Friday morning, Erev Shabbos Chazoin. Giving tzedakah creates levushim, garments, which ensure that Hashem, godly energy, rests upon the giver, and that no negative forces draw from this energy. Protection. Today's lesson, just as a coat of mail. This is like a defensive garment made of interlinking metal rings. Let's just think Kevlar vest. Kevlar. So just as that shields, so does tzedakah fill in the gaps in the system of godly energy flow, ensuring that negativity does not slip in. V'yilbash tzedakah kashir yoim. And he garbed himself with tzedakah as with a coat of mail and a helmet of salvation upon his head. This is from Isaiah 59. The pasuk, in fact, speaks of God's promised actions in defense of his people. Nevertheless, the deeds of a Jew that mirror God's deeds serve as a vessel which can receive, or as a means which can bring about God's reciprocal action. So if Hashem promised something, we still have to make the keli. This year in Gadol, Pruta, Mitzarefes L'Cheshben Gadol. On this pasuk, our sages of blessed memory comment, just as with a chainmail. This garment, this protective garment, all the individual scales add up to form a large coat of mail. So it is with tzedakah. All the general individual coins given to tzedakah add up to a great amount of protection. Note by the Rebbe on the bottom, he says on the bottom page 91 in the Chayinu here, this recalls the Alter Rebbe's interpretation of the teaching, Dal mala mala mimach. Know that which is above you comes about from you. Yom 13th of years. Look it up. So the Alter Rebbe now anticipates a question. What is gained by this analogy? Surely it's just as obvious that all the individual coins given to charity add up to a greater amount. That we know. As it is that all the individual scales add up to form a large coat of mail. So what's the chiddush? What are we learning here? Chiddush sheish hashiroin osu kaskasim al nekavim hein maginim shaloi ikones cheitz. This means, and this is in the additional point being made here, that just as the mail is made of scales covering the gaps, and these shield one against any arrows entering through the gaps, so it is with the act of tzedakah. Surely a person giving tzedakah, davening, is learning Torah, is doing other things that give him blessing and protection. So what does each individual coin do? It fills the gaps that allow the negative forces to penetrate. And this protects the person from the outside influences, negative influences. So meaning, as we explained previously, the spiritual dynamic of tzedakah comprises of A, an element that corresponds to the links, the chinks, it says here, in a coat of mail, and B, an element that corresponds to the protective scales, the coins that cover those gaps. To explain a little further, tzedakah is greater than all the mitzvahs. Giving tzedakah produces garments for the soul. The performance of the mitzvahs provides the garments that enable the neshama to withstand the intense degree of divine revelation to which it will be exposed to in Gan Eden, instead of become completely nullified by it. These garments are drawn forth from the light of Hashem, deriving from a source which is infinite. They enable the soul to cope with the infinite degree of revelation, which they will encounter in Gan Eden. That's where the souls will be. From the level of sovev, which means to surround. The meaning of the permeating energy and the surrounding energy has been explained in the Likutei Amarim. We already got into this. Okay. these garments are brought into being by our initiative, the fulfillment of a mitzvah of Hashem that Hashem asked us to do, and that's His will. So we're fulfilling it. So since the mitzvahs emanate from Hashem's will, from the level of Seiviv Kol, they serve as the source for the above mentioned garments. Ve'ikar hamshacha zoi meir ein seif baruch hu ulevush va'oir makif liyud sfirais datzilos bria yitzira asiya. The essence of this efflux, this energy flow from the infinite Ein Sof garments, is a garment and encompassing light for the 10 spheres of the world of Atzilus, Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya. Which evolve from cause to cause, and from rung to rung, and these spheres being referred to as Memala Kol Amin, permeating everything. Okay. So the Alter Rebbe now answers the following question. Since the spheres themselves are the spiritual energy of the 4 worlds, so why do they need the infinite Or Ein Sof as a garment? They don't need anything. This means Perush Ki Or Ein Sof Baruch Hu Mislavish Umeir B'Seich Kol Ishtalshalos Be'eser Spheres Tatzilus B'Ri Yitzira. This means that the Ein Sof, the light of Hashem, vests itself and radiates in an indwelling manner within the entire evolving chain of the 10 spheres of the worlds that we just mentioned, Atzilus, Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya. Moreover, it gives rise to the 10 spheres of the world of Atzilus, which evolve into the worlds of Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya. So the sphere of Atzilus thus serve that chain of descent of Atzilus serve as a divine illumination for the worlds of Bria. That's where everything comes from. It originates in Atzilus right next to Hashem, and then it comes down through all the different worlds. And this is made possible by means of intense contractions, which means all the light was contracted and hidden in order for it to be able to be revealed somewhat down the line. V'nikra or pnimi. The light then becomes and is called or pnimi, internal light or inner light. A light that vests itself in an inward manner within created beings, in as much as it is contracted to match the spiritual capacity of the particular created being in which it is clothed. So the neshama is there, it burns, it's burning, it's bright, whatever that is, spiritually, but it's internal. So now, Vayidei Kiyama Mitzvah is Nimshach Or Makiv and Eskaleel Amir Pecha Eser Sfiras Tatzilus Bria Yitzir Asiya Misyachet Im Ha'or Pnimi. The fulfillment of the mitzvahs, and by fulfilling the mitzvahs, the above mentioned encompassing light is elicited and radiates within the 10 spheres of the worlds of Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya. It's Atzilus, Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya, thereby uniting with this Or Pnimi, with this internal light. Here it's called indwelling, calling it internal. So when this occurs, the infinite and transcendent light, the Or Makiv, Makiv, it's like surrounds, permeates the indwelling light, the Or Pnimi, of Seder Shtalshalos, and the self-obscuring and chain-like descent of the divine life force through which increasingly material worlds come into being. V'nikra, and this is called Yichud. This is referred to as the unification of the Holy One, blessed be He, Holy Kaddish, signifying His separateness from the world. We have the world, and then we have Kaddish, which is Hashem separate, and it's the level of Seiviv Kalam. That's why the light is not yet permeating, it's above, it surrounds us. Ushkinte, and the Shekhinah, the indwelling light, that's the one that permeates. Ushkinte, like the Shekhinah rests, as explained elsewhere. From a reflection of the above mentioned encompassing light by means of powerful contractions. A garment is made in the lower and upper worlds of Gan Eden for the soul levels called Nefesh, ruach neshama of man. So we have the lower level Gan Eden, which is in this world, and the higher, which is in the spiritual world. Shel yuchlu lehanes alahasig eis hasaga v'hara me'od ein seif baruch hu k'meshespar shemevoyer b'makim acher, enabling them to derive pleasure and attain some apprehension and illumination from the infinite Ord Ein Sof, which is diffused in Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, as explained elsewhere. Alter was referring to a few things here, which he's trickling in some ideas and concepts and thoughts, spiritual, ideas that he has explained in other places at great length. But he's mentioning that this is all being done and all being brought about through what? Mitzvah, but specifically giving up tzedakah. So we take a coin and we pick it up and we think, what's the big deal? I'm just putting a coin in the box. But what we don't realize is there's tremendous, tremendous ramifications and ripple effect in the spiritual worlds, in the physical worlds, within our soul, within the soul of the world, within the Seder Shtalshalus. Tremendous. And so we see why tzedakah, reducing its own gaps, I'm jumping over to page 96, and its own protective scales is likened to a coat of mail. And this is what underlies the above quoted teaching of our sages of blessed memory. Just as with chainmail, all the individual scales add up to form a large coat of mail. So it is with tzedakah. All the individual coins add up to a great amount. And the word great is used here. And the spirit of the pasuk, great is Havaya, and exceedingly glorified, without end, limit, or restriction. So this is by means of the coins giving to tzedakah. We have no idea. I think there was recently a tsunami, maybe not so major like the ones we remember, but still, any tsunami is, how is it caused? A little something goes down beneath the ocean. Not little, but saying something happens, and then it starts to pick up speed, and it picks up and it picks up and it picks up. So we think, giving a few coins, a few dollars, writing a check, what's it going to make a difference? You ever seen an appeal from a fundraising email? It always says, your dollar makes a huge difference. Really? Really, $1? Can't even buy a can of Sprite in the corner store for $1 anymore. It's $1.75. So what's it going to make a difference? But it starts the momentum, and it starts the flow, and it starts the energy, and it brings so much blessing, and it brings so much protection. And suddenly it's like the whole worlds are shaking, and worlds are being affected, and spirituality, godliness is flowing in. And the negative forces are being put in check. Why? Because of a coin. If you say, what's the point of one coin? If there's a big job, they have to put in all the windows, it took a long time. You're like, we're never going to finish. Maybe that's not a good example. Painting a room, you're going to start with one corner. It's one paint stroke. It's going to take forever. Just start. You're going to do one, and then it's going to be, and before you know it, you're going to work your way around the room. Put one coin. You're like, what's this one coin? What's it going to affect? Yeah, but if you have a garment that's going to protect you in war, you're going to make sure it might take you a few days, might take you even a few weeks, but you're going to make sure that every piece of metal that's there for protection is put in and is set up right, so that when the time comes, it's going to be there for protection. So we cannot miss a day of giving tzedakah. Tzedakah is great, and it brings tremendous light from Havaya, from the four-letter name of Hashem, and the power of tzedakah allows the infinite divine energy to be expressed in a physical manner, and the giver is blessed with material benefit. And by the way, especially 9 days, when tzedakah brings closer the Geulah, and Alachas Kama V'Kama even more so on Tisha B'Av itself, which God willing will become a day of great rejoicing this year. Amen.